can all recover if you just give us all a chance. And maybe if you knew our history, you'd understand a circumstance. The journey to becoming lost started just after we were born, in an environment where abuse and addiction left our families torn. There was no way to make a better choice, because there were no choices there. We seemed caught up in the whirlwind, in a world that didn't care. And powerless to change it, without a helping hand. We tried to get better, but it was too hard to understand. Falling just as hard as our parents at one time fell, until one day we looked up and found ourselves in hell. We had used to try and escape, only to find ourselves in prison. We no longer were calling out for help, because we believed no one would listen. The drugs were no longer a relief. The sting of pain had broken through. It didn't matter how much we took, the pain would not move out of view. Until death looked like a better choice, because now we were no longer living. We had come from a life of deprivation, in a world where no one was forgiving. And this is the path we traveled, the only details set us apart. In the end, what we all suffered from was from a broken heart. And unable to heal our brokenness, we had sought some pain relief, never realizing the drugs could in no way ever heal our grief. How do you recover from something when there was nothing to recover? How do you find peace and love when it's yet to be discovered? How do you know what normal is when nothing in your life was ever normal? It's like not having enough money to buy any clothes while everyone else is dressing formal. Or like not having the admission fee so you can't get into the amusement park. Or like everyone else has the lights on but you're still sitting in the dark. And yet everyone expects you to get to your destination without the transportation. And if by chance you don't arrive on time, you'll be subjected to deportation. Exiled down to the streets, where the value of your life will just be spent, where it's to a whole new level of hell that your mind and body is sent. And once you fall into this place, it's near impossible to get out, and it will take a while to learn what the rules of survival are about. And once you learn the rules of the streets will own your soul. You'll no longer be accepted back into society when you make your living from what you stole. And by the time someone tries to help you, you'll have spent your life's best years, and the streets will have hardened your heart until you have drowned in unshed tears. But if we tried to understand addiction, if we tried to help the wounded heal, they wouldn't have to buy a drug to numb themselves from the way they often feel. They wouldn't give birth to children they aren't well enough to care for. They'd be able to be real parents, and it's their children they'd be there for. But we don't respond to the need, and so the cycle continues on. And another generation is raised parentless, and still reality doesn't dawn. Families trapped in the grips of an addiction from one generation to the next. Addiction transmitted over and over, as easily as sending a text. And we look at them as addicts, thinking they should know better than they do. But you haven't had to sit in their world or see their point of view. If you saw the lives they live, you would be shocked at the deprivation. It would make your darkest moments look like a Disneyland vacation. And you really wouldn't want to know because it's not something you'd forget. And after a few sleepless nights it would become something you'd regret. And we can't keep putting a band-aid on what has become a gaping wound. And we can't just continue to ignore families whose futures have been doomed. We need to find the compassion to lift them up to higher ground. We need to help these families so there is some hope that can be found.